not the side part. Yeah, I don't know. I was styling my hair today and I was like, side part? A lot of product later, here we are. Hi, hello. So I've been promising y'all a full face-ish of Giorgio Armani Beauty, basically in celebration of the fact that like this is a brand that has very heavily made its way into my collection recently. Like, I tried the Luminous Silk Foundation a while back, but it feels like rapid fire. Armani has been coming out with a bunch of stuff lately that I've been very interested in. And so in honor of this product coming out right here, the Luminous Silk Glow Liquid Bronzer, I decided, I was like, let's just combine all of these things together. And y'all will get to see this in action in its truest form, which is the new shade that is only on the Armani website, which is shade 10. It's this beautiful, like desaturated, peachy, beigey, mauvey, creamy color, right? It's fair, fair, fair. We're gonna be doing a video where I deep dive on all of my super desaturated, beigey, mauvey pinks like this. Soon, the one thing that's holding it up is the fact that I had to reorder the Pat McGrath blush in Flirtatious because I misplaced mine. And when I misplace makeup, you can bet it is gone. It's gone. In fact, there was something else in my collection recently that I was looking for and I realized like it's not there, and I guarantee they're in the same place. It's like I packed a bag to travel and of course it's my favorite, and so I definitely put it in there, and then God above only knows what happened to that bag. Someday I will find her, but that day is not today. So I went ahead and reordered it because I just have to build in a budget for my own chaos, but that is coming. So we're gonna be using this. I'm gonna be using the Armani foundation, the Armani concealer, and we're gonna fill in with some more things that are just kind of elegant and in that same vein, you know, same vibe, same price point, same whatever, you know, just to give myself like the elegant, happy tingles while I'm using it. And I discovered something about this that I'm going to very egregiously tease in the thumbnail because your girl needs subscribers, but I discovered something about this that's a huge and instant deal breaker. So when we get there, I will reveal all. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm gonna start with the Victoria Beckham by Augustinus Bader. We're just gonna use the regular uncolored, untinted version of this rejuvenating priming moisturizer. Just the best. It's just a really great primer. I did try this whole complexion, actually the whole face of makeup already, using the Ciate Dewy Skin, and I liked it, but it was a little bit tough to control at times. I feel like the way that I got it to work was to just kind of take long breaks to let my skin soak everything up because it was dewier than this primer. This primer is plumping and gorgeous. It actually feels a little cooling going on, and it has a little bit of like a serum gel texture, but it doesn't do as much in terms of changing the texture of my makeup as it goes on, and it does have a little bit more grip. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It really, in Tom's words, does something. We're gonna start with the Luminous Silk Perfect Glow Flawless Foundation. I have this in the shade 3. I've been really enjoying this. I've been loving the shade, loving the coverage level. My skin is clearing and I am treating the heck out of it with glycolic right now. And so even though it looks kind of irritated, it is smooth, which is nice. It means that, you know, when I get something like this on and it's luminous, as it were, it doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of texture to accentuate. So I've been really excited about the kind of thinness of this texture on my skin, but also the amount of coverage that it gives me while that's happening. What is weird is I was double checking the ingredients on this and fragrance is in there. So you made it smell like this on purpose, or is mine spoiled? Because it really smells like it smells like spray paint. Now I can hear your typing fingers now. Khaki, that's expired. It might be. I didn't have it that long ago though. I feel like I bought it maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe? Because I haven't been using these kind of super luxury beauty brands for that long. Although, time is such an illusion. I look back and I'm just like, wait, how long have I had my channel? How long ago was 2018? A long time ago. It was a long time ago by, I don't know, by YouTube standards. That's something we're talking about on the podcast, is just how I feel like even when I started my channel, I didn't really think of YouTube as something that was like definitely a promised career, you know, where it's like, if you work hard enough, this is a thing that you can do. It was very like let's see how this goes. Let's see if it can make money at all in any way that would sustain me, and also just build in the expectation that like this platform might get blinked out of existence at any time. But what continues to happen is just that not only does YouTube kind of, I don't know, it's the best like money-making platform for creators, and so like as these newfangled platforms tend to kind of like fail or get less popular or run their course, people kind of keep coming back to YouTube because it is the easiest platform to monetize, because Google, comparatively speaking, always has their poop in a group. You know, they kind of always have their stuff together, and I'm not sitting here being like, I want to please business daddy. It's because they don't care. But I think that the other thing about Google is just that their search algorithm is the best search algorithm in, you know, in the universe. And so the YouTube platform is like the easiest place to find what you're looking for, which makes it better for people who are trying to make more educational content because it will be found. Whereas, I don't know if you've ever tried to find something that you once found before and didn't bookmark on, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram. Like, the search algorithm just isn't there. And as someone who worked in marketing prior to this on the Google platform, I have a lot of respect for it. It's not just airtight, but they do a good job of kind of constantly refining it. So that is why I'm glad that I invested my time and energy into YouTube initially. Plus, I have so much to say. I would have so much anxiety trying to fit all of my content into the formats that they want on those other platforms. Okay, so it is well known on my channel at this point, but I will let you know if you're new here. I did not love the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. This was a recommendation by my friend Hope Miss Tom, and then after the fact, Tom was like, by the way, I don't really need concealer. I use so little of it, it's really sheer anyway, and I'm not someone who has a lot of like specific concealer needs. And I was like, oh, okay, so I do. And so I'm gonna be using my color corrector from Beauty Pie. If you've got the Beckham one, it's basically exactly the same. Underneath, like pretty much everywhere that I need to conceal, because I'm trying to stick to a format here of using all the Armani stuff. But is this my favorite concealer? Absolutely not. And it needs extra coverage and extra moisture to really do the trick for me. I should probably have used my Hourglass eye cream. What I have on right now is like underneath my makeup. I've been using this Angela Caglia, a company that is on Shop My Shelf, which is my favorite affiliate platform. I believe she, honestly, like she does all her own social media and everything. So she or her team reached out to me and sent me a couple of things. They sent me these little massagers that go in the freezer for your face, and they're freaking awesome. And they're gold. I mean, it really gets me on every level. But also they sent this very, you know, popular item of theirs, which is this souffle moisturizer. And that's what I've been using because I left my 242, my SkinCeuticals, in my car. And like, I just haven't gotten it yet. And so I've just been reaching for that out of, you know, just like laziness. And it's great. It's really great. And it goes a lot further than the SkinCeuticals. But I mean, I'm not necessarily comparing them apples to apples. It's just kind of what's working for me right now because you know, it's warm outside. We're not exactly in like drought season for my skin. So you can see I really go in pretty heavily with this. Not heavily in terms of a lot of products, but in a lot of places. I feel like it's just like when you get into a painter's mindset, if you're new here, that's kind of the way my brain works. I went to, you know, I have an art degree and I was a hairstylist for a long time, and I just have like an analytical eye for like proportion and color and stuff. And so when I'm putting on a color corrector and I just kind of see where it's working, my eye then like scans the rest of my face and is like, all of those colors exist in places on other places in your face, and like you can go and put that stuff there too, and that will work. And so I just kind of get carried away. But it also makes it so that I don't have to wear as much concealer, which is nice because that's a more hydrating product that has actually, it's like more reflective but has less pigment to it. So I feel like it's more forgiving as it wears in on the day because you're not dealing with kind of this particulation of the like, I don't know, the liquidy or waxy parts of the formula and like the pigment itself, because those, you know, will tend to break up if it's too like mattified. So now we're gonna go in with this concealer. I have it in the shade 2. Again, I don't recommend this. I'm just sticking to a format. So I feel like it wouldn't be one of my videos lately if we didn't talk a little bit about astrology. So I had my friend Leslie here for about the last week. She left yesterday. She got here on Wednesday. So she was here for several days. And I hadn't seen her since I moved. She was like the last friend I saw before I moved in a very, you know, socially distant kind of safe way. But she got to like meet Simon before I moved and everything. And we've been friends since 2009, like, you know, when I moved to Austin. And so seeing her was just so nice because I don't know, it's just really nice to like put on music in the car and someone else knows all the words. And you can extrapolate that metaphor as far as you want. It's just, you know, it's a metaphor for everything, but it's also very literal. Just somebody who like was there when you were forming all your best memories. She's just like that person who, if there was like a non-family holiday, it was just implied that we spent it together. Like we spent like every 4th of July together and every Halloween together, you know? And she knows me really, really well. I know her really, really well. And the way that she helped me sort through so much confusion in my own brain. It's kind of like how, you know, you say that like your phone is like your auxiliary brain sometimes, and you're just like, if I put that there, like if I put a note or a reminder or whatever, like then I don't have to think about it again until that thing thinks of it for me. That's how Leslie is for my like emotions, you know? She's just like, hey, remember that you're this person and that, you know, you actually like are strong and you know what I mean? She like helps remind me what all of my like core awesome characteristics are. And she's also incredibly honest with me. So we just had a really nice time. Simon, of course, calls her his aunt. And so he's completely obsessed with her and we had a really nice time. And Friday, coming back to astrology, Friday was the new moon. And so like I think we were just like listening to music or something in the kitchen and then we went to go to bed and we turned off the lights downstairs and the house went pitch dark. And I was like, oh my God, why is it so dark? And I was like, oh, it's the new moon. So like big new moon energy because like it's just been the eclipse and I'm sure y'all all felt it in one way or another. Like we're all feeling it in one way or another. But feeling that new moon, feeling that closeout of that energy, it just made me feel so renewed. I kind of called it a soul bath. I like woke up on Saturday morning and I was just like, Leslie, like, it's time to clear some stuff out, you know? And I did. I made a lot more brain space and stuff kind of started to fall into place. And I promise y'all, there will be like a life update at some point in the future. Like I'm not just gonna leave y'all hanging, but like there's nothing to update on right now. Like everything is just very much in flux and I mean, every reading I do, like, you know, I have these really fantastic kind of oracle decks and things like that just help me find things to meditate on and journal about. And every single one of them is just circulating around the idea of divine timing right now. It's just like, hey, hanged man, just chill. You know what I mean? And so I have been really trying to not be in my Aries bag as much where I'm just like, no, go, green light, everything, all the time. I make decisions and then that's, you know, that's what happens. Everybody else needs to get their crap together. And it's like, you know what? Not always. Sometimes it's really healthy to let things just run their due course. And that's where I'm at right now. And that's like the most update I can give you. But I promise y'all I'm okay. Like I have been having days where I'm not having a Baja Blast, okay? And I also was getting off of my antidepressants, which was a very big plus for me. Obviously, I think that like everybody needs to do what they need to do. And they saved my life at a time. And they have saved my life at a time before that. But it felt good to get off of them. And so, but that also gave me some like panic attacks and, you know, just like new resurfacing feelings and stuff that I've been having to kind of re-regulate for, you know? So there's just been a lot of change. It's been a lot of change. So here we have it. This is the shade. This is the lightest shade. I don't know what shade it is. It says 90. I doubt that that's the shade. Anyway, this is the Luminous Silk Glow Liquid Bronzer. Emphasis on the SPF 15, which I did not notice when I saw the listing. I was just excited to try it. Is she green? She's green. She's a little bit green, y'all. And like, that's not the issue. I can make this work. In fact, let's go ahead and swatch this against a couple of my other cream bronzers so you can see exactly how green and also deep this is, being the fairest shade in the range. And now we see if I can remember what I just swatched on my hands. Let's go. Here we have Mo from Thrive. Wow. Wow, are those different? Holy crap, I don't even need to explain to you why those are so different. And this right here is the new one from Say. So very, very similar to Mo in that nice kind of rosy, almost like beige thing that's happening, where this just is looking like hot yellow green by comparison. So yeah, this is the, you know, my massive swatch of the Armani. And this is probably going to be valuable information for people who look like me and those who don't look like me as well. You might look at that and go, oh my gosh, finally a beautiful green leaning liquid bronzer, you know? So it's information you can use. Then we have Bright Side right here. This is Bright Side from Rare Beauty. It's the new one that's, you know, kind of the light contour kind of shade. And then there's Power Boost, which is my other shade previous to that light one being released. That was my shade in the Rare Beauty one, and I really like it still. So it is, as you can see, more of a bronzer, but it is much less green. It's so much more neutral. And then right here, this is, what is that? Oh, here we go. Yeah, whew, I know because of the smell. That's NARS Laguna 01, the cream right there. Here's the Makeup by Mario in light, which I really enjoy. This is, what is that khaki? What is that khaki? What did you just put on your arm? Chanel! This is the Chanel Le Beige bronzer. The Healthy Glow Bronzing Cream, not my best color. I really should, like if they came out with a lighter one or something, maybe. It's just, it's very similar to this one though, if you look, aren't they? I mean, it's a little yellower or maybe even a little oranger, but still, they're probably the most similar on my arm. And then we have the Charlotte Tilbury right here, the big guy. This is the Beautiful Skin Sun Kiss Glow Bronzer in 1, which is looking decidedly gray by comparison. So you can already see that this being the fairest shade in the Armani is kind of a problem for me. It's just a little bit dark and a little bit green, but like, I mean, I'm not the fairest person in the world, right? And so it's not gonna like glow. It's just gonna be a little bit harder to work with. And honestly, when I first saw the consistency of the product, I was really, really excited. And then when I saw the color even on its own, I was really, really excited because I thought it was gonna be really shimmery and it's not, which is nice. But then I put it on and I was like, that's too green. That's too green for me. So either way, we're gonna do it, and I'm gonna use my dump truck brush for this. I'm gonna use the BK 105, and I'm gonna be really careful because a little goes a long way, which again, might be great news for you if this is something that interests you. You know, it's not inexpensive, and it is a lot of product, which is great, and it actually goes a really long way. Now, as I'm putting this on, let me tell you the problem. Besides the color, it has an SPF in it, and the SPF, for whatever reason, in the year of our Lord, 2023, is 3% octinoxate, an ingredient that has been outlawed in Hawaii. Brands are taking it out of their formulations left and right. I didn't think I needed to look out for that ingredient in a new product ever again. I thought it was basically well known in the industry at this point that we don't put octinoxate in things as a chemical SPF because it's a very irritating ingredient. It's not good for the reefs. It's, you know, kills reefs. It's literally illegal in Hawaii. And there are so many great alternatives, you know, for chemical SPFs. And also, sure, I get it. Like, I think that it's cool that they put an SPF in it because, like, why not, you know? But I wish they hadn't in this case, you know? It's actually very extremely pretty. Very extremely pretty. I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that because I can't use it. Like, obviously I'm using it right now, but if I use this day on day on day, there's a good chance that it's going to give me clogged pores in this area, which is the last place I freaking need it, okay? But like, look at it, it's so pretty, but I'm so mad. I'm so darn mad. God, I mean, that went on faster than a cream. It was just like bip, 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 bip. You know what I mean? Like, so easy, but I'm gonna have to find someone to relocate it to because sod. And well, I mean, I guess after I'm gonna do the big bronzer video, right? But other than that, sod. So I think this comes in 3 shades. It's quite expensive. Oh no, oh no, oh no. This is so cute. Right, I was looking, sorry, I got tagged in something on Instagram. Y'all, the way I've been getting distracted lately, it's so bad, especially because my inbox was full and it was like deleting 87,000 emails. And so everything got derailed by that. Like every time I'd be doing something, I'm like, oh, I need to write an invoice. Invoices are pretty time sensitive. And then I would get derailed by the fact that my inbox was full and I didn't have any room in my Google Drive. And so I wouldn't write the invoice. And then I would wake up, bolt up right in the middle of the night and be like, I need to write that invoice. It's disruptive, okay? Armani bronzer. I got it on Nordstrom, but the scent on this is such a deal breaker. It smells like the butter bronzer from Physicians Formula, which is just like the grossest thing in the world to me. I hate it. It stinks. It smells terrible, and I don't want my bronzer to smell like that. Hate it. Blech. $48. Not bad. No, that's a lot. It's a lot for a bronzer, but especially if like octinoxate works for you, the color works for you, I can say the formula is gorgeous. It's really, really pretty. So we're gonna do a little bit of contour here while that kind of cooks, because I'm gonna powder, but I don't want my face to soak up too much powder, so it'll give us a little bit of a moment, right? So I'm using my UOMA Contour. I'm going to put it on my trusty rusty BK Beauty 106 here. I will not probably be using the UOMA powder again. That's another one. It's like I need to kind of pass along. I'm kind of becoming, maybe I'm getting more decisive, you know, especially with a powder, because there's no reason to keep a powder around for swatching purposes. You know, like unless you're deep skinned and like you can actually show like the nuance of a shade match, but if it's a translucent powder for, you know, a pale white girl, like there's nothing I can show you about that. I can just describe it to you. But I found that it just kind of gummed my makeup up a little bit too much. Just wasn't my favorite. And I just think it's probably not specifically for me. And we'll just do a little zoom through here, because y'all have seen me do my contour a gazillion times. We're looking very tan. So you can see from a color theory standpoint, that contour almost is a little bit pink on me by comparison to the green in that bronzer. And that's gonna stand in contrast because from like a desaturation standpoint, if you add white to both of those, red and green are opposites. Red just becomes pink. And so we ended up with kind of this like yellow green and then this kind of beige pink. And the contour almost looks like more of a at-home bronzer color on me than the Armani does. And I knew that that risk existed when I bought it. I saw the swatches, but I did have high hopes because, well, I think especially with super luxury brands, but you know, everybody is kind of susceptible to it. The swatches do not often translate to how it actually looks on the skin. Even with a color theory eye, like there's just too many filters on everything, you know? So I'm gonna grab, we're gonna do my new girl here. This is the 110 from BK, and it's kind of like Rattly Natalie, but I would say it's got like half again as many bristles. And so it's more of like a giant pencil brush. And we'll just do a little shimmer and a little shimmer there, a little brightening, you know? Because we are dealing with some contrast here, and I'm just gonna lean into it. You know, it's kind of like paint by number Kardashian makeup, except, you know, not quite as high coverage or high stakes, but like really playing into the illusions that you're building with the contour and the bronze and everything, and saying like, okay, well, if we're gonna deepen, we're also gonna brighten just as much. And with the Kosas, I feel the Kosas powder that I'm using, like you're really never gonna get yourself like fully in trouble, because there's just not that much coverage to it. It's not gonna get all gummy and weird, and it's not gonna over mattify if that's your concern. So there's that. Like, did I go pretty hard on my contour? Yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna have to back our way out of that, but again, it's just makeup, so like, who really cares? But let's talk about blushes, because this new Armani shade is divine. It's so beautiful. So again, this is shade 10. They all have names, but then they don't bother to put them actually on the package. And again, I'm going to, you know, swatch all of these against my other desaturated colors here in another video pretty soon, whenever that one arrives from Sephora. But I'm gonna go ahead and put on a whole bunch of this. Just a lot. We're just gonna put on a lot of it because it's so sheer and it's such like a fair color that I can really get away with putting on a whole bunch. I rediscovered this brush that I apparently washed a long time ago. This is just a lovely brush. I don't think they make it anymore. It was part of this like Magnificent Metals collection from Real Techniques. and it is the 100 brush, and it's weighted and it feels like a weapon, and I love it. And it just fits perfectly in there. Bip, 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 bip. Oh, it really does give me Pat McGrath Flirtatious vibes though. Just that kind of like effortless, barely there, nothing thing. But as it builds, it's like, oh, okay. And so they knew it. And they made it an exclusive on the Armani website, the same way that Charlotte Tilbury did with Pillow Talk in the Matte Beauty wand. I don't know. I'm not trying to like be performative here, but I do think that it's kind of interesting that when they put out an exclusive shade that's like special edition, and you know, you have to go directly to their website for it because they know that you're going to, kind of thing, and it's like supposed to be this like really iconic shade, right? This like beautiful, like this is our special shade or whatever. And it's for me. You know, same thing with Pillow Talk. I feel like they're both shades that are very specifically like je ne sais quoi gorgeous, but on real pale skin. That just occurs to me. I don't have any further aspersions to cast, but like it just occurs to me. I'm like, okay, why aren't there like special edition shades that are like for every other skin tone? Because this is gonna be too ashy on a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like that just is not a universal color. If such a thing even were to exist. Oh, my nose, my poor nose has got all the peely skin. Oh no, ow. So much like Flirtatious, when we're talking about just applying a lot of blush, right? I'm never gonna get where I'm going with just this. We're still gonna need to like choose a pop of something to like enhance it and give it some, I don't know, some depth and some impact, because while some people can go hard on their eyes, I mean, I can still go hard on my eyes. Some people can go hard on their lips in terms of like bright colors and stuff like that. Like I can get away with, and I feel more comfortable looking at myself with, a lot on my cheeks. I just like blush. I think that it's fun and it's my favorite place to put makeup. But I'm not gonna use like the NARS liquid blushes now that we have powder and everything down. I am going to do my eyes, and then I'll go in with another of the Armani blushes, because if you've been playing along at home, you know I have two more. I have 50, this is 30, just kidding, and this is 50, which is very much that like, you know, this is the pairing. This is the OTP of what I typically would buy from any brand, right? I always kind of start with the basics of like a cool pink and a warmer apricot coral color, you know? This being, you know, icing on the cake, but it's a really, really great way to kind of almost like set my cheeks, but also build in this really pretty in-between color on my cheeks that honestly kind of reminds me, this is a long shot. This is a long shot, but it kind of reminds me of what the Makeup by Mario bronzer does on me. Those are different. Those are definitely different, but like, I wanna see how different they are. I think it's more of a saturation thing than anything. Yeah, so like the reason the Makeup by Mario works as well as it does is because it's so sheer, and that's the same thing that goes for this blush. So they're not the same at all, but that blush does have a similar kind of vibe to it, the way that like, you kind of can't put too much on, and it's just gonna sort of enhance your cheeks in a way that's like, you don't even really know that it's blush. It's just really pleasant. What a great color, dialed in. Okay, so on my eyes, y'all, I don't know. I've like thought about it, and I did a couple of things before. I'm really trying to go for something like classic, you know, that's gonna go with the whole vibe of this makeup, but I also want it to be cute, you know? You still want it to be cute. And I don't have any Armani eyeshadows. In fact, I went to buy one and I think they're phasing them out. They were pretty much on empty, like you really couldn't get a lot of them. So we're gonna go with some of my other luxury things that I've been loving using lately. The first one being the Victoria Beckham in Pecan. Now this one keeps getting stuck in the lid or flying off as I use it, like as I open it, so wish me luck. I was looking for it for like 5 minutes earlier, not realizing it had come off inside the cap. So that was like a good news, bad news situation. So we'll do this, and I'm not gonna prime, because when I prime with the Victoria Beckham eyewear sticks, they dry down a lot faster, and it's like, I need a little more time for them to work. They kind of work as primers on their own. So why not? Do a crazy dance. Oh, okay, so Ted, Buffalo Beauty Boy, just sent me this reel on Instagram, and I don't know. Ted and I feel like we're like distantly related or something. Or maybe he's just my long lost brother. Either way, we just have kind of this like understanding when we send each other memes where it's just like, I'll give you an example, okay? So he sends me this video of this woman being like, all right, hear me out. Rocky Horror Muppet Show. And I was like, wait, Ted, like, that's some Mandela effect stuff, because as soon as that was invoked, I am absolutely certain that it already exists in my mind and somewhere in the sands of time. And then he's like, oh, for sure, not only is it part of the simulation and Kermit is Frankenfurter, Kermitfurter? Workshop that in the comments for me. But he's like, we experienced it together. And now I'm like, okay, well, is this woman who made this real? Is she just kind of like delivering the information as it's coming to her kind of randomly, thinking that it's just, it's a meaningless thing, but a great idea or whatever? Or does she have greater knowledge of the simulation? And we can joke about this stuff because we think it's funny, okay? We're also working on some, you know, Ted and I just have projects, right? And one of them is, because he calls everything TEDcore, which I'm obsessed with. I love like calling things that you like and that kind of like fit your life and your aesthetic, like calling like khaki core, like he calls it TEDcore. And I was like, that's the freaking coolest thing I've ever heard. But I couldn't remember it at one point, and I called it, I was like, what is that thing that you said? I know it's not TEDstrology, but I want it to be TEDstrology. And he's like, okay, so we're putting TEDstrology on the calendar, like, and so we started discussing all of Ted's personas, one of which being fat third Olsen twin, which is like not the same thing as being an Olsen triplet, but the fat third Olsen twin, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, you know? So if you're ever tagging me in memes, understand like that's the vibe, that's the energy. It needs to have a little bit of the darkness and also just a little bit of like WTF, you know? And while I was discussing that, like that eyeshadow just happened so fast. It makes me so happy. I love these Victoria Beckham eyewear sticks so much. So I think that the color that we're gonna go for on my cheeks is gonna be kind of pleasantly pink. I'm not gonna go for like the coral of it all today. And so I wanna go with Victoria Beckham Tea Rose on my eyeballs here. I just kind of think that like I haven't used it in a while, and it's just right squarely in the zone of the vibe that we're seeking today. It's just that kind of like je ne sais quoi texture, je ne sais quoi color, easy to wear, but also really elegant. And it's almost a I mean, yes, it's got a little more commitment to the color itself because it's like kind of purple, right? But it's like still desaturated and beigey enough that I feel like it's fitting with the vibe of that blush from Armani. I have been hot compressing my eye, not because like that sty is like active still, but because it's still got this knot underneath there. And I'm like, get out of there. You can see it. I don't like it. We're gonna go underneath a little bit. Give myself a little bit of like a smoky moment. Using one of Angie's brushes here. This is the E04 from Singe Beauty. I did step on one. So I have a broken one somewhere. I'm still gonna send it. And then for inner corner, this is gonna be a really quick eye because I don't think that this is what we're concentrating on today, but I'm gonna use this NARS powder, which is kind of bonkers. I don't recommend it. I'm gonna use it as these nice kind of subtle highlight spots, but like this is just not for me. The way that when I caught myself outside in natural light, which is like supposed to be the ideal, right? You catch yourself in like direct sunlight, everything looks youthful and gorgeous. And that's kind of what I always make fun of when I'm talking about brands trying to sell a shimmer goose, is they just go put a 20-year-old in like direct sunlight and everything looks amazing. And they're like, you too can look this amazing. And you're like, yeah, but like I have a life where I'm inside under fluorescent lights and like I'm also not 20. So like, what about me? And they're like, it's fine, shimmer goo. And that's my cynicism around shimmer goos. But this being this like reflective powder, this light reflecting setting powder, I put it kind of in a lot of places on my face one day and it looked fine. And then I got outside and I looked like the Tin Man. It was real bad. It was like embarrassing level bad, you know? So not good, not good. Probably wouldn't recommend it. I'm gonna go for a little bit more depth on the outer corner. I'm just gonna use the VB bronzer for this. in an effort to make it, you know, accessible. Like, you don't need to go and buy like a full like quad or like 5 palettes or something like that to accomplish a really pretty eye look. It's just very intuitive to lean on what you already have that you know works on your complexion, like a great bronzer or a great contour. Because then I'm gonna go in with the lighter shade in this, and that's just gonna be sort of the local color up here. Boop, boop, boop. And my friend Natalie of My Skin Trust, she sent me this video where she was like, she was wearing this lighter shade, I wanna say, on one side, and Trench from Victoria Beckham Eyewear on the other side, and she goes, can you tell the difference? No, you can't, because they're exactly the same. And I just wanna say, Victoria Beckham Beauty runs such a tight ship. You know, they're just like, hey, we know exactly the colors that we want to translate. It does not feel random. It never feels like half-baked. They just have this like continuity throughout the brand. I love it. So soft, soft, soft. Let's put on a little bit of the Armani blush in 50 so that we can see, I don't know, how much more I want to do on my eyes. So it's kind of that nice little like push-pull, right? Because the whole idea for this is, even though that bronzer is quite dark, I still want to keep this in this like really like soft place of like things not being too many standard deviations from my skin tone. And that I think translates, you know, like to your collection, to anybody's collection. It's like, if you want to do something that feels really like effortless and elegant, a lot of times it's just about kind of staying in these tones, even if they're not like quote unquote safe, it's staying in the tones that are kind of closer to what would be native to your skin tone and not, you know, working in super high contrast. And that's just my comfort zone, you know, it's my happy place. So I'm grabbing a little bit of this, and it's just gonna give us a little more actual color, right? But I think it goes with Tea Rose really well. It even has a little bit of a shift to it that also kind of mirrors Tea Rose. So that shift isn't, it's not doing, you know, terrible, terrible things for like texture or anything. Ooh, pretty. Little on my forehead. But I feel like it helps to go on more sheerly so that you can get a nice even application. And then I will take some of my VB bronzer and go underneath my eyes, because that is the way that I keep from this like socket effect happening. I do think that, like, especially after using the UOMA concealer that I just got, I really, really enjoyed having, it's kind of like Icarus, right? You have to, you're like flying too close to the sun in terms of like getting a little too dark on the under eye. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want it to be like actually darkening your under eye, but like I am becoming very anti under eye brightening because it's just so kind of hard to compensate for. And it's just kind of interesting how, you know, your taste changes. I just feel like it makes me look healthier when things aren't just like over brightened underneath my eyes, because it's almost like creates like a socket effect. It's like, it's just more noticeable, I guess. I do feel like I want a little bit something darker on the outer corner. So I think what I'm gonna do is just use my contour powder. Still, I wanna keep it in like this really tame territory, but I'm just gonna use my Natasha Denona because that is what I'm gonna use on the rest of my face later anyway. So Natasha Denona Contour Sculpting Powder, kind of just like right there. Stabby, stabby, like right in that little spot, because I wanna do this before I put my eyeliner on. And I think the matte really helps too, but it's just a little cooler toned, and it helps to kind of reinforce that illusion of a larger eye so that my eyeliner, which I'm going to use the Hindash Color Fluid in in Thorn, feels like it's not going to be as contrasty. Just kind of, I feel like most of my makeup technique, especially when it comes to doing something that's a little bit more on the soft glam side like this, is constantly thinking about making the transitions really smooth. It's about thinking in color theory terms of saying like, okay, I'm not just gonna apply a color because that's the color I wanna see. It's like, I'm gonna think about the color that I want to get to as far as like the local color, what the eye detects on my cheeks. And then I'm going to like work the in-between. And like, I can't say enough about this shade as being effective for working the in-between for fair skin like mine, you know? And like, y'all can tell me if I've got some like, you know, medium, deep, dark skin tones in the chat. If y'all are like, actually like, I can get something like that to work for me. That is news I can use, but I don't know. I don't really anticipate that working, you know? So like I said, I'm gonna go in with my Hindash Color Fluid in Carve. I'm gonna try and get this hair off of my face if I can find it. It only takes one little dadgum tickly thing. Spoolie to the rescue. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna do the Hindash Color Fluid in Thorn for my eyeliner. Gonna do my brows with the VB pencil. I'm gonna put on some probably Hourglass mascara, although I did pull this back out. We might use this. This is my La Perla volumizing mascara. I like it because it's like a really true brown, and I think that that's gonna complement this look really well. And then we will come back and talk about lips real quick and do an overview of everything that I used from Armani today. Okay, so this is the vibe. I'm really enjoying it. I think that the main success here is just the fact that like every color on my face is like a little bit toned down, you know? It's like there's nothing that's particularly standing out. It's giving this really, really just like soft gradient everywhere. That's the mission for me. That's when I feel the most confident. And I'm gonna finish off with this. I used this in one video previously, but I've been using it a lot off camera, and this is the Sigma Renew Lip Oil in the shade Tint. I mean, it's just like the chillest, right? It's just like the perfect thing for this look. I did find that the clear one has quite a bit of pH reactivity, and I don't think that this one does. Maybe a little bit, but not a ton. I've been finding that certain brands have been, when they don't kind of point it out as a feature of the actual product, they're putting a little bit of it in there, but not a lot. So I got the lip balm that Bobbi Brown just put out, and like it has a touch of it, but it's not overwhelming. I like put it on my cheeks sometimes, and I'm just like, that's just a nice, like pleasant, like barely there pink, not even anywhere near like the Youthforia one or anything like that. So yeah, I feel like people are getting a little bit more delicate about it. Like the brands are getting a little bit more delicate about it. And so I might be able to gain an appreciation for the pH adjusters just because, you know, it came as a surprise to me that there was even one in the Dior blushes, for example. They do have a touch of a PR adjusting quality to them. And like, I just think that brands have been putting too much of it in there, like making it the main feature. It's like a parlor trick, you know, and it's just kind of a gimmick instead of it actually enhancing the way that the makeup looks. Like, I think that it's best when you don't even know that it's there. It's just like, oh, that looks nice, you know? Okay, so let's do a quick smasher pass on the Armani products specifically. So the Luminous Silk Perfect Glow Flawless Foundation in the shade 3, still a home run. So beautiful. Not to be a jerk, but wish they could have extrapolated this and its vibe a lot better to the concealer itself, because the concealer is pretty disappointing. The concealer, I almost take it as a hint that they put it in matte, although the full size of the Luminous Silk might be in also matte, I'm not sure, but it's like, this is luminous, this is matte, and like, that's all the information that I needed. It's not necessarily matte, it just definitely doesn't give me the same kind of like hydrated quality and all day lightweight flexibility. Like this just isn't it, and I'm sorry. It's just never gonna be something that I recommend. I did manage to make it work today, but I was also really just like, I coddled her, and I don't want to have to coddle makeup, especially at this price, but at any price, skip it. Go for like the Givenchy. I really like the new UOMA. I like the Kosas. Like these are all things that I would go too far before recommending that you spend your money on the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. But the Luminous Silk Foundation is great. I mean, look at it. It looks great. It wears all day. It feels great. And it doesn't have octinoxate in it. I double checked. That's where I saw the fact that it had fragrance in it. And I was like, really? So this, it's an imperfect product for me starting with the color itself, although I do think that we got something really lovely out of it today. Like, I think that the color, I applied so little of it, but it was still so effective. And again, seeing the color swatches hopefully is really helpful for some people out there who are in search of a good green leaning bronzer, because this is gonna give you that green leaning tan that looks very realistic on some people, just not so much me. But octinoxate. Octinoxate, I don't know if I actually mentioned why I don't want octinoxate in there, besides the fact that it's like, you know, a like outlawed ingredient. It really irritates my skin over time. I did say that. I think I did say that. But yeah, it'll break me out, it'll clog my pores, and maybe just like using this teeny tiny bit of it, because it's not a foundation, like maybe that will be okay. I'm not sure. But I won't be surprised if, like, when I wash my makeup off this evening, like, you know, my pores are a little angry with me. And I don't need that right now, okay? I've got enough going on with my skin to not be, like, you know, intentionally endangering it with an imperfect product. So it is interesting how, like, you can see in the bottle, can you see the way that that shifts? It does look like it's got, like, shimmer to it, but it's almost like all of the mica or shimmer particles or whatever are like getting stuck to the sides on the inside, and so you see it in the bottle, because the way that it looks on the skin, it doesn't really have, like, I'm gonna spread it out really thin so that you see less of the, okay, you know, still, you can very, very softly see that there's a little tiny bit of a shift to it, but I'm talking barely. I'm talking barely. We are not talking about Glow IV from Kosas here. It is not something that once you get it all spread out the way you do a bronzer, that you're going to clock a shimmer. It's just not gonna happen. I feel like it's a very tasteful amount of whatever radiance there is in there. It's just, it's not giving eyeshadow. It's not even giving highlighter. So it's like almost like a caveated recommendation, but I think just on principle, I'm very annoyed that they put octinoxate in it because it's so unnecessary. Like, I don't need a sunscreen in my bronzer, and I certainly don't need it to be octinoxate. So that's pretty annoying. Now this blush, oh, how much more can I wax poetic about this blush? I am going to, like I said, do an entire video waxing poetic about these blush formulas, these blush colors. But like, just look at how, this is a color theory thing, this is an art math thing. Look at how as I scan it around different parts of my face, different parts of my makeup, how it just looks like it belongs. And it kind of brings out something really beautiful and neutral and flattering out of like every part of my face. Absolutely gorgeous. Home run for what they were going for. Still a little annoyed that there's not a home run shade for everybody. This is definitely not a universally flattering color. And I just think the implication of putting something like that on your website, like exclusive to your website, says, this is our special shade. This is the one that's like the treat. Okay, but for who? For me, but like, for who? You know what I mean? For who else? So like I said, these are things that I love. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart, and I own a lot of these kinds of colors. And I think that it will be valuable for people who also really appreciate those kinds of things to swatch them all next to each other. But I also think that it'd be cool if they put out some je ne sais quoi shades for other people, because this is, people deserve to experience this feeling, right? And while I didn't use the coral shade, you know, I use it all the time. And I really just think the absolute world of these Luminous Silk blushes. There was a long time waiting for them to come out, because they had those kind of creamy ones before that everybody also really liked, but I just love these. I love the delivery system. I love the packaging. I love the colors. I just think that they're really good, okay? And I've just been really excited to continue using them, and they really like met and exceeded my expectations. They're just really fun to use. They're easy and fun to use, and the colors are great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Giorgio Armani of it all as it currently exists in my collection. And I love this face of makeup. I'm gonna go take pictures of myself and put them on Instagram because I feel cute, and isn't that just the point? So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. I'll throw a video up here that I think that you'll enjoy if you liked this one. And if you have not already subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you did, if you're new here, because times are tough. For whatever reason, videos are not reaching new eyes. And so if you're here and you're new and you liked what you saw, please don't forget me. I love you so much. And I will hopefully see y'all in the next one. Bye.